Today, we're counting down the top 3 most valuable Roosevelt dimes you need to know about coins so rare and valuable that they've become legends in the numismatic world. Imagine finding a tiny dime in your pocket. Change could be worth up hundreds, to thousands, or even millions of dollars. Most people overlook the Roosevelt dime, tossing it aside as just 10 cents. But hidden among these everyday coins are a few extraordinary treasures that can turn collectors' heads and break auction records. Today we're diving deep into one of the most mysterious, overlooked, and highly collectible U.S. coins, the 1968 D Roosevelt dime, but not just any dime. We're talking about the rare errors and varieties from that year that can turn pocket change into a jackpot. This isn't just a coin, it's a story of minting mistakes, hidden treasures, and the thrill of finding a fortune in the smallest of places. So stick with me until the very end, because I'm going to reveal the types of 1968 D Roosevelt dime errors that exist. The backstory. Let's rewind for a moment. The year was 1968. America was in the middle of historic change: the Vietnam War, civil rights struggles, the space race, and in Denver, the U.S. Mint was striking millions of Roosevelt dimes. By this point, silver had already disappeared from dimes after 1964 due to rising costs. That meant the 1968 D Roosevelt dime was struck on a clad planchet copper sandwiched between layers of nickel. But here's where the story takes a turn. Even though billions of Roosevelt dimes exist, off-center strikes, $5,000 to $6,000. Clipped planchets, $6,000 to $8,000. Double die errors, $9,000 to $12,000. Record-breaking auction sales. You might be asking, has a 1968 D dime ever actually sold for crazy money? The answer is yes. At major auctions, 1968 D Roosevelt dimes with dramatic errors have commanded stunning prices. For example, a spectacular off-metal strike from 1968 D once sold for over $10,000. Off-center dimes with bold, dramatic misalignments and visible dates regularly sell in the $25,000 to $30,000 range. High-grade mint state examples of error dimes can bring in $15,000 if the coin is unique enough. Now here's the kicker. Imagine being the person who found that dime in their pocket change. They thought it was just another coin until they looked closely. How to identify valuable? Here's the part you'll love. You might already own one of these treasures without even knowing it. When searching through your change or coin rolls, keep an eye out for weird colors indicating missing clad layers, part of the design missing or off-center. Odd shapes or clipped edges thinner or thicker than normal dimes could be struck on the wrong planchet. If you find something unusual, don't dismiss it. Many million-dollar discoveries began with someone simply noticing a small difference. Why these coins are so valuable? The real reason error coins like the 1968 D dime are valuable comes down to one word: scarcity. Millions of perfect dimes exist, but those rare few that escape the mint with mistakes, they're one of a kind. And collectors are willing to pay huge sums for uniqueness. Think of it this way: a normal dime from 1968 D is worth 10 cents. But if only one or two error varieties. One of the most overlooked coins in U.S. history, the 1970 Roosevelt dime. But here's the kicker: while most of these coins are worth only face value, there are rare error varieties that can command prices so high, they'll make your jaw drop. We're talking about mistakes at the U.S. Mint that slipped through the cracks and ended up creating treasures worth a fortune. So don't click away, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly which 1970 Roosevelt dime errors to look out for, and how some of them sold for life-changing. The background. Let's set the scene. The year was 1970, a time of cultural shifts, political challenges, and a nation still adjusting to life without silver coins. Just a few years earlier, in 1965, the U.S. Mint stopped making dimes, quarters, and half dollars with 90% silver. Rising silver prices forced the mint to switch to a clad composition, a copper core with layers of nickel on both sides. The 1970 Roosevelt dime, minted in both Philadelphia No mint mark and Denver D mint mark, was just another clad coin, struck on a foreign planchet, $10,000 to $20,000. Off-center strike, $27,000 to $35,000. Clipped planchet errors, $40,000 to $55,000. Auction records and real-life discoveries. You might be thinking, okay, But do these really sell for that much? The answer is a resounding yes. A 1970 Roosevelt dime struck on a foreign planchet has sold for over $40,000 at auction. Off-center examples regularly fetch $57,000 to $65,000. Missing clad layer dimes from 1970 have topped $19,000 in high grade. And here's the exciting part: these discoveries often come from ordinary people going through their pocket change or coin rolls. Imagine being the lucky person who spotted that unusual dime, sent it to grading, and walked away with a 5-figure payday. How to identify a rare? Now, here's where you need to pay close attention. Because spotting these treasures is all about knowing what to look for. Weigh the coin. If it doesn't weigh 2.27 grams, the standard for dimes, it could be a wrong planchet error. Check the edges. Copper showing through in unusual ways might signal a missing clad layer. Look at the date and lettering. Doubling can mean a double die error. Inspect the shape. Off-center strikes and clipped planchets are easy to spot with the naked eye. Unusual color. A dime that looks reddish like a penny may be a missing clad layer error. And remember, if you find something unusual, don't clean it. Cleaning coins can destroy their value. Instead, get it graded and authenticated by a professional service like PCGS or NGC. Why collectors pay so much? The real question is, why are collectors willing to pay thousands or millions for these coins? The answer is scarcity and uniqueness. Every error coin is like a fingerprint. No two are exactly alike. That means when you own a dramatic 1970 Roosevelt dime error, you may be holding the only one in existence. And collectors will fight to the last dollar to add it to their collection. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most mysterious and valuable modern coins in U.S. history, the 1975 Roosevelt dime. A coin so ordinary that most people overlook it, yet certain rare error versions have shocked collectors with mind-blowing auction results. So stick with me until the very end, because I'm going to reveal the rare 1975 dime errors you need to look out for, how they happened, and why one of them is considered one of the holy grails of U.S. coin collecting. The background. Let's rewind to 1975. America was going through tremendous change. The Vietnam War was winding down, technology was advancing rapidly, and inflation was creeping into everyday life. Meanwhile, the U.S. Mint in Philadelphia and Denver was busy striking millions of Roosevelt dimes. By this time, silver had been gone from dimes for over a decade. Since 1965, all Roosevelt dimes were made of a copper core clad in nickel, giving them that shiny, silvery appearance but with no actual silver content. Off-center strike, $5,000 to $8,000. Missing clad layer errors, $10,000 to $15,000. Wrong planchet errors, $20,000 to $30,000. Real auction records and shocking sales. To prove how valuable these coins really are, let's look at some auction results. The legendary 1975 No-S Proof Roosevelt Dime sold for $50,000 at Heritage Auctions. A dramatic off-center 1975 dime sold for over $70,000. A missing clad layer dime brought nearly $76,000 in mint state. Wrong planchet strikes have crossed the $10,000 to $20,000 mark depending on rarity. Each one of these coins started life as a simple dime. Each one was likely overlooked by dozens of people before ending up in the hands of a sharp-eyed collector. How to identify these errors in your change? Now here's the exciting part: you might already own one of these valuable dimes without even knowing it. No mint mark on proof coins. If the S is missing under Roosevelt's neck, you may have found the jackpot. Weird colors. A dime that looks coppery may have a missing clad layer. Odd shapes. Off-center strikes or clipped planchets are easy to spot with the naked eye. Doubling. Check the lettering and date for doubling with a magnifying glass. Unusual weight. If the coin is too light or too heavy, it may have been struck on the wrong planchet. If you find something unusual, don't spend it. Instead, get it authenticated and graded by a top service like PCGS or NGC. Why collectors pay so much? The real reason collectors go wild for the 1975 dime is scarcity and uniqueness. Most coins are struck perfectly, but when a mistake happens, it creates something one of a kind. Think about it. The 1975 No-S Proof Roosevelt Dime has just two known examples. That makes it rarer than a 1913 Liberty nickel, rarer than many legendary U.S. coins. When rarity meets demand, values can skyrocket into the millions.